Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by SmartThings. SmartThings lets you monitor, control, and automate your home from wherever you are using your smartphone. Right now, SmartThings is offering Know-How listeners 10% off any home security or solution kit, and you get free shipping in the United States when you go to smartthings.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT10 at checkout. On this episode of Know-How, it's the science fair. Some of your feedback. I know what we did last Christmas. Oh, and CES. Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next 45 minutes?
Considering the late start we got, 20 minutes. Let's get this done.
For the next 20 minutes, we're going to be letting you into some of the projects that we've been playing with over the past few weeks. Now, Brian, this actually is our first show of 2015.
That's right. That's right. Because we pre-recorded our butts off last month so that you could go to CES.
Yeah, and then I left my butt.
Right.
Well, I didn't. Always I found it, but I kind of, worked my butt off over there. We're going to be giving you some of the footage from CES over the next couple of episodes because there were a few things that I saw. I'm like, you know what? That might not fit into the Twit CES coverage, but it would be perfect for Know-How.
A few things that piqued our interest. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking drones, which we really haven't talked about those very much on the show. Yeah. And 3D printing.
Right. Now, folks, remember, we did promise that we were going to give you a couple of weeks off from quadcopter builds. Now, we'll still talk about them because that's what the people in our group, our Google Plus group, it's like half of it is all about drone talk. So we'll talk about them, but we're not doing another quadcopter/drone build for a while. Yeah. We will be teasing a few because we've got some really fun stuff coming up, but we wanted to try something a little different for the first part of 2015. We've got a new segment called Science Fair, National Science Fair.
Oh.
And this actually came to us from a high school student who, she was wondering if we could do a few segments that could show her some interesting things to do for her science fair. Because
that's a great idea.
It's science fair season.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I wasn't aware there was a season for
There
science.
is a season because it leads up to the National Science Fair in Washington, D.C.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
so can we have like a volcano with baking soda?
Oh, we're going to do so much more than that.
Yeah, you always have to take it to the next level, don't you?
It's so ratchet. No, so we're going to be doing segments that could show her some interesting things to do for her science fair because
that's a great idea.
It's science fair season.
Yeah. Oh wow! I wasn't aware there was a season for
There
science.
is a season because it leads up to the National Science Fair in Washington, D.C.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
so can we have like a volcano with baking soda?
Oh, we're going to do so much more than that.
Yeah, you always have to take it to the next level, don't you?
It's so ratchet. No, so we're going to be doing a few segments over the next couple of weeks where we're going to take some basic science, stuff that high school students or even, playful adults can use to tease out the interesting parts of science.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds cool. Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah. But before we do that, I want to know what you did over Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a very busy season. I mean, other than work, I did pretty well on Christmas. My significant other got me an Xbox One to her instant regret. Oh, and
that's
an Xbox
not it.
One?
Wait, what?
But that's my boy Tibbs who helped me open my Xbox One. He has a little bit of the wrapping paper stuck on his tooth there. So he really likes open presents.
I have to say I was following your feeds, both Twitter and G+, pretty closely because you had some beautiful photos.
Oh, right.
You traveled a lot of California. What was up with that?
I didn't have to travel very far. Fortunately, I have some relatives that own property really close to Petaluma, and it's really scenic out there. I don't think I threw any pictures in the dock though for that, but what was the next picture that I had?
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, right. So this is something that you really missed out on. Game of Drones came for the New Year's party.
I was watching this. I saw your tweet, and I'm like, oh, I actually do kind of wish I was there.
It was really fun to watch. I mean, it was not a legit, but more scaled up version of when we fight our drones, basically. Because we'll take the Simas and run them into each other, but these guys were bringing props and stuff.
I mean, these are 450 plus.
They were
they're
big.
Super modified, like that one that looked like a chandelier.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically designed to kill
fight.
other drones.
And that they did. It was pretty cool to watch. But I think next year we'll have to make our own drone to fight against them. Because I wanted to jump in, but I didn't want to use my drone.
Well,
for it.
I watched that segment live on the Twit New Year's coverage, and the whole time I was thinking, oh, you know how I would build it like, oh, and I would add, oh, and string and chains, detachable chains, yes! I was thinking all the things I could put onto, because I'm thinking the key is you have to have a long battery life.
Yes.
Because you can outweight a lot of your enemies.
That's true. If you're nimble enough, you could just like kind of dance around them until they make a mistake.
And then you have to protect, because the attack, and this is the same attack that we use all the time, is you get them from above.
Yeah.
Right? So you drop your quad into the quad below you, and you mess up their props. So if you could armor your props so they can't do that, well,
yeah. We'll work on that for for next year when we do another New Year's thing. But the next thing was a little bit of sad news. Was the no-hole, our basement no-hole got dismantled because
that's right, folks. The no-hole is no more.
We kind of knew it had a time of death because we were blocking the sprinkler system.
We were flaunting some major safety laws.
So while you were gone, we had to clear that out, and I did a little makeshift thing, which I then called the no crevice for the time being. But we're rebuilding.
I kind of like the crack of no.
It's
very
knowledge.
Tolkien-ish.
Yes,
yeah.
One does not simply walk into the crack of knowledge.
And we have some photos from Burke.
Yes, yes. And actually, it is a prison. And if you look at the next photo from Burke, that's pretty much what it's going to be like.
I think somebody got in trouble because they were like throwing candy bars through the
Those things hurt.
Yeah.
They really stop it.
Emotionally and physically.
No, I'm like, and I'm eating them going, stop feeding me.
So that's our new place will be, that's where we'll be doing our new projects and stuff. And then finally, I lost my little drone.
So like 80 feet, 100 feet up?
Yeah, we went to the redwood forest, and I got too confident. I flew too high into the sun, and
like Icarus.
Yeah, exactly. And I
you could have used one of these.
If I had the fire department come out, that would have been perfect. This was actually in front of the Twit studios like a week before I lost my drone.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if you looked into the Google Plus group over the break, obviously a lot of our fans got SEMAs.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we've been telling people to do it. Get an inexpensive trainer of $50. In fact, Leo got one. and practice. And a lot of people either put them in trees or burned out motors, or one really sad person, I'm so sorry to hear about this, but he thought that he could plug the same battery that you have on a large quadcopter into that. So instead of 3.7 volts, he put 11.1.
Ooh,
and
burned everything out.
The blue smoke.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's like, so in the group, he's like, I smell burning plastic. Can I fix this? I'm like, no.
Oh, well, see, fortunately, I had you, because you knew at some point I was either going to lose it or something was going to happen. So you had actually ordered me another one. So that one's sitting in the basement right now waiting for me.
Although, you know, the mods have to be done again. You have to repaint that thing.
Yeah, actually, after I had painted it, I had kind of forgotten how difficult it is to see it when it's all white.
Yeah, well, because you can't remember which way should be facing you.
Right.
And then you lose orientation, and now
then
you go into a tree.
Yeah, exactly. So I got to paint it before I start flying it around some more. But what about you? What'd you do over the break?
Well, obviously CES.
Yeah.
And we're not going to show any CES clips because we've got hours of CES clips. Just go to youtube.com/twitspecials or twit.tv/specials. You can see the videos that we brought you back from CES. We actually did a pretty decent job we went through every hall. We just brought back the things that we thought were either quirky enough or interesting enough or important enough to bring back to the audience. It was Scott Wilkinson, myself, and Dickie D. And also we had little segments on our news program. So we're going to leave that be.
Right.
But Alex, if you've got that queued up, I'm thinking what you probably want to see is how my vacations now look. Too low.
Ooh, too low. Yep.
Low and fast is fun, but yeah, it causes issues. Boston Bob in the chat room wanted to know if I had any issues with bringing those to Hawaii, and no.
No?
Yeah, just pack it responsibly.
Yeah.
Don't let the lipos be loose. So it should be in a proper battery bag. In fact, I had my battery bag my battery's in a battery bag inside of a battery box.
Smart.
Yeah, so, no impact, no worries, no muss, no fuss. As far as, because I brought 3. I brought the SEMA because I wanted my family to practice. So practicing flying that. I brought the 250, which that thing was just fun. Seriously.
Those things are quick.
Those are so quick. And then I brought a 450 with a gimbal. So the really steady shots, it had a gimbal on the bottom of them.
Those are beautiful, yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous shots. That one I actually disassembled. So I took the arms off just so it would fit in the luggage better. But TSA didn't even check it. Like normally they leave a little note. They didn't even open the bag. So if you pack it properly, you're fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like it worked out for you.
Yeah. And
all 3 of them.
It does add a lot of stuff when you can. I took so much footage from Hawaii, and it's kind of nice because my family gets to have cool videos to.
Yeah. Well, and I had forgotten too that I don't know if you pulled up that YouTube link yet, Alex, but I took my drone out to my relative's property too and was playing around with it, and I would chase my friends with it while they're on their dirt bikes and stuff, and I don't know, it's just shots that you can't get otherwise that are just they look so cool. And then some of the news I heard from CES is there's a lot of drones coming out that will follow you.
Yes.
So you wear like a bracelet or something.
I'm a little worried about those just because if you noticed in the shots that I took, I never did it over a densely populated area.
Yeah.
I didn't fly it like over a city block. It was early in the morning when the beach was mostly empty. The people who were there, I would always tell them, I said, this is what I'm doing, just so you know, these are the dangers. I'm going to try to keep it away from you. I flew it over the water a whole lot so that if it dropped out of the sky, it would go into the water. It wouldn't drop into someone's lap.
Such a cool shot.
Yeah, the thing with like those follow drones is it encourages you to not
around.
pay attention.
Yeah, and not look at where it is, yeah.
Right, this was always line of sight. I did not fly FPV. I would not fly FPV if I was near anybody because you lose your peripheral vision. You can only see what's directly in front of the camera.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, it's cool tech.
It makes you a little bit nervous.
I don't want to be walking near someone who has an automated quadcopter that's following something on his wrist.
Right, and then they lose track of the battery, and it comes home, and it's.
Yeah. So again, I love quadcopters. I'm having so much fun with them. But folks, if you're going to build them, if you're going to fly them, you got to do it responsibly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Speaking of responsibly, what could be more responsible than home automation?
Yeah, and something that I want to try.
Yeah,
really badly.
At CES, home automation was everywhere. In fact, home automation has kind of merged with the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Because the idea is you can control your doors, your windows, your appliances, pretty much everything from anywhere. But there's been one problem, and that is how do you merge together all the standards? You may have a light switch from this company and a refrigerator from that company and a TV from a third company, and you want to be able to control all these from one central space. Well, until recently, that's been very, very difficult to do, which is why we're happy to have on the show SmartThings. It is the hub for everything smart. Now, if you would be Vanna White, show off some of the things that we've got on this table. Right now, this right here, this is the Smart Hub. This is the big mamma jamma. This allows you to talk to everything. You connect it to your internet connection, and suddenly you can control your switches. You can control your lights. You can control your sensors. But SmartThings is not just about the hub. They've got everything from door sensors to presence sensors to light switches to sockets to open and close window alarms. I mean, it's really trying to give you a little bit of something for everyone. Now, this is CNET's highest rated smart home system. This is the SmartThings Hub and the SmartThings system. It allows you to monitor, control, and automate your home from anywhere using your smartphone. Now your lights, locks, thermostats, home security systems are all connected through a single app, which means you don't have to use a different app for every product. If you've gotten into home automation at all, you know what kind of a bother that is. I mean, you've got one app for your home security. You've got one app for your lights. You've got one app to check who's coming in at the door. No, don't do that anymore. It all goes through SmartThings. You can set your lamps to brighten each morning at sunrise or when you want to wake up. You can even keep your home protected with SmartThings Home Security. They've got motion sensors, motion detection, water detection, and more. You could even enable your speakers to broadcast dogs barking if there's motion outside of a house. That sounds silly, but you know, my parents live in Vegas, and it is a great system. Well, I use it so that if someone approaches the door and like rings the door to see if someone's home, you'll hear dogs barking. Now, if it's someone who's supposed to be there, they don't care. They know we have dogs. But otherwise, you're like, oh, I'm not messing with that house. It's the simple things that really make the Internet of Things work for you.
It makes it really easy to mix and match.
It really does.
Because nobody's home is the same as somebody else's, and they might have a different idea of what they want to do, and they give you all the little parts that you can play with.
Exactly. That's what SmartThings is all about. You can even have your camera set to take a series of photos when it detects unwanted motion, or if there's an entry. So you could have something watching your door, and it will take a picture of every single person that comes into your house. There are so many different ways to customize your SmartThings homes. I want you to give it a try. Remember, this was named CES 2015 Editor's Choice by CNET. To get started setting up your smartphone right now to control your Internet of Things, SmartThings is offering Know How listeners 10% off any home security or solution kits. And you're gonna get free shipping in the United States when you go to smartthings.com/twit. That's smartthings.com/twit, and you use the offer code TWIT10 at checkout. You got to try it. Get automated, get smart things. And we thank SmartThings for their support of Know How.
Pretty cool.
It is. Now, this is the time when we're going to go ahead and jump into our National Science Fair, Brian.
Ooh, okay, yeah. So have we come up with a project that we want to submit?
Well, I wanted to start people off easy. Right, because we didn't want something that was too high on the difficulty scale. We didn't want something that was going to cost a lot of money.
Right.
So what we came up with was gallium. Now, if you go to the overhead shot, Alex, what you can see here, this thing right here. So this is a metal. It's a flaky, kind of silvery looking metal.
Is that the gallium?
This is gallium. So gallium at room temperature is a solid.
Okay.
Right, and it looks like any other solid, any other metal.
Pretty normal, yeah.
Yeah, this is aluminum, so you know this is pretty flexible. We all know what aluminum looks like. This is actually cut from a Coke can, and this is gallium. We're going to do some freaking science with these two substances.
But we're going to need gloves, right? Because
we are going to need gloves. So here, I got one for you.
Just one.
Just one. So put that on whatever hand you want to keep.
All right.
This is not toxic. Gallium isn't toxic. It's not going to hurt you. But what it can do is, especially in its liquid form, it can stain your skin.
Oh.
So if you don't want to stain your skin black, just go ahead and get some cheap gloves.
So where did you find this gallium?
I got this off Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just buy 99.9% pure gallium. Now here's the cool thing. Again, go to the overhead shot. This is what it looks like at room temperature. This is what it looks like just above room temperature. So I just put this in some hot water out of our bubbler. It's now a liquid.
It looks like mercury.
It does look like a mercury. In fact, it acts a lot like mercury. Now, there's a few things that you should know about gallium. Gallium is an element. It's on the, in fact, Alex, I think you have a link there for the periodic table of the elements. You'll notice it's just below aluminum. It's just above indium, and it's between zinc and germanium. So it is, remember, if you don't remember chemistry, anything that falls along like the edges of a section, it's kind of reactive.
Okay.
Right? And so gallium is actually reactive. It will readily alloy with a lot of metals, and that's one of the things that we're gonna play with today.
All right.
So here's what we're gonna do. I've got this piece of aluminum. Go ahead and go to the overhead shot. What I want to do is I want to make a reaction spot.
So you're gonna scuff it up?
Scuff it up, yeah, because aluminum will naturally form a skin on its surface. It's an oxidation skin. So oxygen comes into contact with aluminum, it creates aluminum oxide, and it creates like a protective film.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you need to get
We have to get past it, yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, interestingly enough, this is not how it works if you've got iron. If you've got iron in here, it rusts, it creates iron oxide, but it will keep going. There is no protective film. Aluminum, one of the reasons why it's so corrosion resistant is because it allows it to create that film, which means it's not going to go any further past that initial exposure to oxygen, right? So what I've done is I've scuffed it up. It allows this to react with any metals. You know what?
Do you want me to hold it down for you? Or bend it?
I know, I'm strong, right? This is aluminum.
Look how thick that aluminum is.
Or, I'm sorry, if you were from across the pond, it would be aluminium.
Aluminium.
Aluminium. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my heated up gallium over here.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to make a mess.
Is anything bad going to happen to this twit?
We may not be able to use it after this.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, it's for science. It's for science, hippo.
Science.
Okay, so check this out. I want to just a little tiny. I don't want to pour too much. Last time I poured way too much. Just okay, that's way too much.
Whoa, it looks cool though.
It looks cool, right? It's like Terminator
exactly.
T1000.
The T1000's coming out.
Blobby blob. So all this is pure gallium. So this is, well, almost pure. This is like 99% pure.
Pretty
and
pure.
I'm going to go ahead and just kind of mix it around a little bit. I want to give it time to react with the surface of the aluminum. It is going to take time. We actually sped this up yesterday by heating it. So we put a lighter underneath it. Anytime you add heat to a system, it's gonna.
I think I hear bacon cooking.
Is it bacon?
It smells good.
Are we doing bacon pancakes? Yeah. So this is gonna start to alloy with the aluminium.
So as it cools, it's gonna become more solid.
It's gonna become more. But see, here's another cool thing about gallium. In its heated state, it kind of self-insulates because a thin film is going to form on the outside, which means the inside is going to stay warm enough to stay liquid. It melts at 85.57 degrees, which means if you hold this in your hand, it will melt.
Whoa.
Yeah, body temperature will melt this. It's soft and silvery. It's a very ready alloy. That's why we're putting it on aluminum. It's going to alloy with aluminum, and then the aluminum is actually going to take on some of the characteristics of the gallium. It's used very extensively in electronics. You're going to find this in microwaves. So anything that uses radio frequency devices, gallium is used to dope a lot of the surfaces. It's also in high-speed switches. So if you're using the internet today, you're using something that has gallium in it.
Why would you use gallium for those things?
Again, because it's a ready alloy, and because it changes the properties of whatever it alloys with. You know, we're always looking for that whenever we start doing physical science stuff. You can also find it in IR circuits, and of course, lasers.
You know how much we love lasers.
Yeah. So actually, here, do me a favor. So you open this, take this and open this up.
All right.
I don't want to waste all this because that's a lot of gallium.
Oh, you're gonna try and pour it back in here?
Well, first I'm going to do this. See, go overhead. Check me.
Okay.
What? What?
Is it expensive?
It's not that expensive, but I mean, see.
Oh, it looks cool.
It does. Now, this, if it was on my hand, this would be leaving a black mark, which is why we're wearing the gloves.
Okay.
But let's go ahead. Yeah, give me a hand. Give it in there.
It's like a little baby Terminator.
Yeah. So it's solidified a little bit. Again, that's that skin, the outer side. Now go ahead and cap that and put that back in the water so we can get it heated up again.
Roger that.
Don't put it in your coffee.
Well, it wouldn't kill you. It would just make you poop.
Oh, well, all right.
Because again, it's slightly antimicrobial. It's like silver in that it will kill the bacteria in your gut, in your gut. Actually, in your butt too.
Yeah, and pretty much probably the whole way down.
The whole digestive tract.
But I like the bacteria in my gut.
Exactly, it's good for you. Now we will show you this at the end of this episode because we're not going to cheat. We actually do want to show you what this is going to do, the aluminum. But we've got something here that we did yesterday. This is what it looks like when you expose aluminum to gallium. So this is untreated aluminum. See how it bends? Look at what it did to this. It just becomes like super brittle.
Oh, whoa.
It just flakes apart. I can just pull this apart. Yeah,
You've destroyed the structure of the aluminum.
Right, because it's alloying with gallium. I mean, it really, here, feel this. It's just start pulling at it. It just flakes off. It's like butter.
I kind of want to do it one hand. Oh, wow, yeah. It's like holding a dry leaf.
Yeah, like everything that makes aluminum, that it's soft, it's malleable, you can bend it, it maintains its integrity, that all goes away when you expose it to gallium.
Wow.
Right? Right?
So if you want to destroy the aluminum cans in your possession...
Well, I mean, it's more than just destruction. We're going to show this is just an introduction. We're actually going to show people what they can do with gallium. There's some very cool experiments that you can play with. Which is why we're bringing it in for National Science Fair.
I feel that we've learned.
We've learned a little, right?
And we've
grown?
Yeah.
We've grown?
We've grown.
Okay. Now, this, again, we're going to be doing a lot more of these segments. The next substance I want to play with is ferrofluid.
Oh, is that the oxygenated stuff?
No, it's got iron in it. So imagine like a liquid metal, but it has iron particles so that it changes its characteristics when you expose it to a magnetic field.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right?
I have seen that before.
But we're going to bring you more with gallium. There's actually a couple of party tricks that we can show you, but there's also some very cool science-y stuff that if you are doing a science fair project, you might like
science.
Freaking science. But let's get past the freaking science because we got some feedback.
We got some feedback.
Yeah.
People were pretty busy over the holidays while we were gone.
We've gotten extended feedback today because we know we were gone for a while, and there were some really good questions. We want to get to a few of them.
Cool. Well, our first one is about soldering. Donald Burr asked, what temperature should I use when soldering? I have a variable temperature iron that goes from around 300 to 500 C. I understand too hot a temperature can damage board traces and or components, and too low a temperature may result in things not heating up enough for solder to flow. I think the latter is the problem I'm having lately, trying to solder wire into a circuit board pads. You're supposed to tin both the wire and the pads first by placing the hot iron part of the pad wire. Yeah, I think Smitty showed us that. And then waiting for it to heat up, then melting some solder on another part. Well, I hold it there and then I hold it there, but it never seems to heat up enough for the solder to flow.
Let's answer that. This is actually a two-parter. Donald actually gave us two questions, but the first one, very good question. This is actually something that stumps a lot of novice electronics workers. This is a Weller. This was like a $25 soldering iron. It's a 50 watt, so this is plenty hot to do any electronics that you're going to be doing. I mean, you really don't need a whole lot more temperature than this. It's nice to have one with adjustable temperature, but this will work just fine. The first thing you're going to want to do is, especially if you're new, use the chisel tip. I don't know if you can see it in the overhead. Nah, it was way too...
Chisel tip?
Yeah. So it looks like a little chisel. You don't want to use too fine of a point.
It looks like a flathead screwdriver.
Right. And I haven't cleaned this recently. Now, this is the problem that he's having. So he's doing this, which we told him. You don't heat up the solder. You heat up the wire. Yeah. And then you have the solder flow to it, right? Right. Well, the problem is he's like, well, I'm heating it and I'm heating it and I'm heating it, and look, nothing's happening. It doesn't go.
Do you have to get it closer to the iron?
No, there's a trick here that sometimes people don't pick up on, and that is you want to create a heat bridge. The heat's not making it into the wire fast enough. So what you can do, and go back to the overhead, is you just put a tiny bit of solder on the iron itself. So I'm basically tinning the iron. Now when I touch it to this wire, that little bit of solder is going to conduct heat so much better than the wire, and now when I do this, it just goes.
Oh.
Yeah, see, there we go. Now we're tinned.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why you put a little bit on the iron.
Exactly. Put a little bit of on the iron, because the iron, when you think about it, it's a hard, flat surface. Right. And wires tend to be kind of curved. Right. So you're probably not getting a whole lot of purchase on that wire. If you put a tiny, not a lot, tiny little blob of solder.
That'll help mold to the wire.
And it transfers more of its heat. And remember, the worst thing you can do is to leave it on there, because if you leave it, then it means the heat is actually going to the components
and
connected.
Then you burn it out, yeah.
Burn stuff. You want to put a lot of heat very quickly, solder, and pull away.
And that'll work for pads too, right?
It works, yeah.
A little on the iron,
tiny
touch
bit.
the pad, and then...
Right. Okay. I didn't bring it with me, but I have basically a container with like a Brillo pad in it. And I can do this to...
And then clean it off.
And normally this is going to be completely messy. So when I go home, I'm going to heat this thing back up and I'm going to do cleaning. Don't sand it, don't cut it. But because it's got a coating on here that will allow the solder to bead up. You cut that off and yeah, it's basically, you just killed the tip of the iron.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, the next question he had was he's seen a lot of quadcopter builds that are using silicone wire, and unfortunately he can't seem to find the stuff anywhere locally, and he needs to wire up his ESCs. Is there anything wrong with using regular non-silicone hookup wire, assuming that the correct wire gauge to handle the amount of current in use, or do I really need to use the silicone stuff?
Very good question. We get this a lot. This is what silicone wire looks like. It looks like any other wire. The difference is the coating. Okay. So a lot of others, it's PVC, it's plastic, right? Which is fine. Silicone has a couple of advantages. First, it's very flexible. So I can do this all day. I could just keep going back and forth. And the wire inside is gonna stress and break before the casing. Versus PVC. In PVC,
the outside will break before the wire inside.
Right. And like when you're dealing with a lot of current, that's a bad idea. You don't want any of that snapping.
Okay, so it's safer to use silicone wire?
It's safer to use silicone wire, especially in applications where there's going to be a lot of vibration, because vibration is the enemy of insulation.
Okay.
Right, like a quadcopter. The other reason why I use a silicone wire exclusively on my builds is because you can heat it without melting the insulation. The
temperature resistance on the silicone is
so much higher.
Okay.
If you start soldering on those plastic-coated wires, it'll work, but it starts to melt.
Yeah,
right? It's not.
So that
right?
when I was doing my little quadcopter and I had spliced the wires and I was heating the heat, which this was the way harder way of doing it instead of just soldering straight to the board. But when I tried to solder the two wires together and I used heat shrink to heat it up, I melted like the wires on each side because the heat for the heat shrink was like too much for the wires on the outside.
And that's actually very common. And again, that's why, especially if it's going to be a build that I'm going to be going back to again and again and again, which means I'm going to be soldering it a lot, I always use silicone. Always use silicone.
Okay.
It is a lot more expensive.
It is.
It is, yeah. But I mean, what I typically do is I'll like place an order overseas via eBay
and then just
for
wait.
a bunch of it.
And then,
right. And so it takes up 6 weeks for me to get it, but then I have like 6 different gauges and 10 feet of each length.
And then you're stocked up for a while.
Stocked up, yeah. Because if you're doing it right, you're not wasting a lot of wire.
Okay, cool. All right, we have some more feedback to get through here. Capturing PC gameplay. Okay. Eduardo Malando, he would like to show where PC gameplay is captured, edited, and posted to YouTube. He tried Fraps, but it really slowed down the FPS in the game, and he's lost the editing video applications.
Yeah. Oh, that's...
And I think you pulled out the HDMI cord on your laptop.
I don't know what happened there, but we'll get back to that. Okay. So what we've got here is this is a AverMedia. This is the Live Gamer HD. I like this. This is a great board because it does all the encoding on the board. It doesn't rely. You could put this in a low power computer, and it's got HDMI in and HDMI out. So
that's cool.
Yeah. This is designed to go in the same computer that you're gaming in, because it should reduce the overhead enough where it doesn't affect your gaming. But for the ultimate capture machine, I put this in a separate low cost, like 1U box type thing, and it becomes a dedicated capture machine. And HDMI goes in and it just captures anything that it sees. It absolutely will not affect my gameplay. And the nice thing about this is I can capture multiple sources. Anything that outputs HDMI, I can get with this.
That is cool. And so how much is that?
I think I got this one on sale. I think it was like 130 bucks.
Okay.
It's not cheap, but it's not super expensive. Now there are other options. Fraps is one of the most popular because you can run it on everything. But as the poster said, that will affect your performance.
Yeah, I remember I used to use Fraps a long time ago, and I did not like it. The more recent one I've used is MSI Afterburner, and I didn't notice as much of lag with that. And then finally, I've been using Twitch, like the Twitch software that if you broadcast to Twitch, you can set it to record automatically. Yeah. And that you can send it to your YouTube channel if you want.
Now, if you have an NVIDIA card, NVIDIA Shadowplay is fantastic. It works really well, and I don't really notice that much of a performance hit as long as you're using an SSD. If you're not using an SSD, it actually will start competing with the game for loading levels and such.
Right.
But we're going to do an episode specifically on that. We're going to show you a couple of different ways to capture via NVIDIA cards, ATI cards, straight up Fraps, and the dedicated hardware, and then you choose which one meets your expense and requirements.
Very cool. I'd like to play with that. I've been thinking about capturing some more game stuff. And the next one is a pretty straightforward question. It's from Marcelo asking how to format an SSD. I have a simple question. How do I format? I've just got an SSD and I would like to put a clean Windows install. So I think just like you would normally, right? But you wouldn't want to do a zero fill.
No. People ask us all the time, oh, well, how do I clean an SSD? I want to prevent people from getting data off of it. Then destroy it, melt it. It's not like a hard drive. Unless you have a very low-level tool, and actually Steve Gibson from Security Now, he has a tool that will do this. Because of the way an SSD is constructed, and because its longevity depends on the writes, not the reads, but the writes. Simply formatting doesn't actually destroy the data in the cells. Even most of those secure erase utilities, it will look like it's secure erasing, but really all it's doing is destroying the table of contents. Because an SSD with the embedded smarts, the embedded electronics, will not let you just randomly start writing to data cells.
Because that's what starts to degrade
That's what
the
starts to degrade
SSD,
it.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not just that it destroys it, it's just as you do it, it gets slower and slower and slower.
Right.
What I always tell people is there a way to format it securely? Yes, there is.
Melt it?
Well, no, I mean, you can do it, but I mean, don't count on that.
Okay.
What I say is, once you own an SSD, you always own the SSD. I never give my SSDs to anybody else.
Okay. So
That's me.
Format like you normally would, and just don't zero fill it.
Yeah. We've actually got some more feedback. We're gonna have to hold it for the next show because, go figure, we ran long. This never happens.
I wanted to do the next one.
We can do that next time. But right now, we did promise some CES, and this is cool.
More SSD stuff.
Because it leads us into SSD stuff. We wanted to give you a little preview of some of the stuff we're going to be doing in February, and Kingston's a big part of that. Hey, Alex, press that magic button. Hey, know-it-alls, I'm here at CES 2015 looking for some of the gear that you're going to want to put into your next system. Now, we all know that I like Kingston SSDs. It's a personal preference. I understand that people like different SSDs, different manufacturers, but for me, they've always been tops in reliability and speed. Now, their HyperX line has been particularly good. We've been using it in our builds for gaming PCs. We just heard about their refresh. Now, this little machine is going to be able to do 560 megabytes per second read and 540 megabytes per second write, which is amazing. We're going to be testing some of these when we do our build for the perfect video editing rig. But I'm here with David Leong from Kingston to talk about something else that I find really exciting for those who want extreme performance. David, I've known you for a long time. We've been working together on a lot of projects. Tell me a little bit about this little thing we see in front of us.
Well, this is really cool. This is our HyperX Predator PCIe SSD, M.2 based PCIe drive, coming out next month. 240, 480 gig to start, and we'll follow it with a terabyte. So, you know, PCIe, we've kind of reached the limits of the SATA bus, right? You know, you talked about the HyperX Savage being 560, 520, 540 on the read side. And where do you go from there? PCIe, you go by 4, 500 megabytes per lane, by 4, 2,000 megabytes. You know, speed-wise, where we're at right now, 1,400 megabytes per second read and 1,000 megabytes per second write. That is really, really fast.
That's just insane. I remember a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, at the Kingston party, you showed off a rig that had, was it 16 drives in RAID? It was pulling like 1,100 megabytes per second. It was nice, but it was impractical. It was kind of a monstrosity. This is everything on a single device. Now, remember, this board is just an adapter. The actual magic is this. This is an M2 module. Now, M2 is a standard, right? So it may come on your motherboard. It's definitely going to be on higher-end laptops.
Yeah, you know, if you look at the M.2 form factor, there's really, M.2, there's about 5 different form factors to it. You know, we as a company, we make a couple of them. We do some on the OEM side, which is a 2240, 22 millimeters by 40 millimeters long. Where you find those in are like Ultrabooks and tablets. Don't think about the size of the M.2. Think about the size of the device it goes in. So if you're buying an Ultrabook or a tablet PC, it's got to be small, right? And then we also make a 2280, 22 by 80 millimeter, which I believe this is, I think this is around that size that's on here. So shipping this M.2, like you said, it is available as a standalone or with a half-height, half-length adapter. So depending on what kind of build that you're doing, we want to make sure we're covering all the bases as a company.
Right now, I know my know-it-alls, and they're all just geeking out over the speed. They're going, oh, 1,400. With that kind of speed, if you had this in your machine and you had your OS loaded, that is instant on. I don't care what OS you're working. That's just press a button and you're working. Now, the way that you made this happen, I was listening to one of your technical talks just a little earlier, is fascinating because what I've seen in, say, like the Acer S7, which is my notebook of choice, is they take 2 SSDs and they stripe it on a single card to give them some decent throughput. You're not doing that. This is not multiple SSDs in an array. You've just created a better controller, a way to have the controller and the bridge all in one chip, which means it talks really, really fast. Where does this technology go from here? I mean, obviously you're going to make them faster, but where do you see this being used? I mean, this is a consumer board, but I could see it being used in the enterprise.
It really is. And you know, the controller that's in here, thanks to our friends at Marvell, this is using or powered by Marvell's first native PCIe controller. And that's a really, really good thing because shrinking the form factor, increasing the performance, single M.2 SSD to get all that throughput. So, really where we go from here, data centers. I know we've talked about this before. Putting in data centers, number one, enthusiasts who have to be on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge, they're going to want this performance. They're saying to us, hey, look, we know what SATA 3 does. We're there. We've done that. We've rated them. What next? PCIe next. Really, that's, data centers, bleeding edge consumers. That's what, that's really what you're looking at.
Yeah, I think we're actually starting to see the extinction of SATA. I mean, when people start getting a load of this kind of speed, you're not going to want to drop in an SSD anymore. You're going to want to plug in an M2 module. Now, I know that this is not released yet. I know that the refresh, the Savage refresh is out this quarter or late this quarter. This is probably going to be coming out next quarter. We're going to get all of this on know-how for our builds, right?
Yeah, you're going to have everything and whatever you need for know-how. By the way, so the Predator PCIe next month.
Oh.
Let's try middle of February, and then the Savage later this quarter or Q2.
Fantastic. David, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. And the nice thing is, I've had you on my consumer show. I've had you on Know-How. I've had you on This Week in Enterprise Tech. The work you're doing at Kingston just blows me away. Father Robert Ballasser, this is David Leon with Kingston. Back to you, Padre, and Cranky Hippo, the other ones in the studio. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Such a smooth handoff.
Smooth, right?
Man,
like,
that's pro.
Like, damn. How do I know how to do that?
Back to you, future me.
Now, we are going to be using these in the future for, we're doing a speed build because people in the group have been asking us, what do I do to create something for the ultimate video edit machine?
Oh, and I am more than willing to try and do that.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just, the bottleneck is not really the processor. It's getting it into the processor and then out.
Yeah.
So, one SSD, good. 2 SSDs, better. 3 SSDs, one for OS, one for assets, and one for rendering, better. Now, take 3 of those crazy PCI ones with them 2.
Yeah.
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 That's gonna be.
There'll be like smoke coming out of it.
Yeah. I like the smoke. Now, folks, we just wanted to leave you with a parting shot for the start of 2015. This, again, comes to us from the chat room. Alex, I believe this is queued up. Go ahead and start playing this without sound. This is from YouTube. This is Grant Thompson. He shows people how to make a mini metal foundry. Now, all this is a metal bucket with some plaster of Paris. You drill a couple of holes in it so that you can heat up some charcoal, and then that's like the bottom half of a used fire extinguisher. You can recycle aluminum cans by heating this thing up, and then he uses, it becomes a flower pot.
That is so cool. That's like Ron Swanson or something.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of want to do something like that, but I don't think Jammer B is going to let us light up a foundry inside the studio.
What about inside the basement?
Looking at me. He's looking at me really bad right now.
There's a lot of hands being waved at us.
We could use it for cooking food when we're not melting soda cans.
We could use that in the basement. Man, that is really cool.
Right, yeah. It's just to do that. I mean, I don't know what I would do with the aluminum, but just the fact I would collect cans just so I could melt them down.
So I guess the hard part, I think, for us would be coming up with molds, coming up with what we would, mold it into.
That's actually a whole other set of lessons, but it's fun. Basically, it's sand, and you make an imprint, and then you pour.
That's neat.
Yeah, you like it.
Next project. If we're not here, though, it's because we burned down the building.
Yeah. That's our bad.
Anyway, should we wrap this up?
Let's wrap it up. I know that this has been a lot of information for you to take in, everything from the Gallium to the feedback answers. We're going to be bringing you a whole lot of new stuff coming in the new year, so stay tabbed and make sure you go to our show notes page so you can see our individual notes. Like, for example, if you want to know where you can buy Gallium, if you want to know where you can buy the parts that we were talking about for our builds, if you want to know where the links are for the videos we saw, Brian, where did they go?
They go to twit.tv/KH, and all our previous episodes live there. And like you said, you can find all the show notes. That was our goofy screen capture from the last show. Yeah, and this is our official, or our real 2015 showing.
This is our real, right.
So we're setting the precedent for the rest of the year right now.
Why? Yeah. Also, don't forget that we've got a Google Plus group. It's almost 8,000 users right now. Get in there. It is active. They're smart people. If you've got questions, if you've got answers, if you want to see what other people are doing.
If you got projects that you've done that you want to show off, or you know.
We pull a lot of our show directly from our Google Plus group. So if you are really proud of something that you built, put it in there, folks. We'll get it on the show. I mean, this is as much your show as it is ours.
Yeah, they have great ideas. And if you're not into the Google Plus, you can always figure out what we've been doing on our breaks on Twitter. And where are you at, Padre?
You can find me at twitter.com/PadreSJ. That's at the little @ PadreSJ. If you follow me, you'll find out not only what I'm doing on all of my shows, but you'll find out what I do when I'm not teching out.
Yes, so we're working very hard down in the basement.
And where do you live on Twitter?
On Twitter, I am at cranky_hippo. So, and when we're not doing that, Alex is on Twitter.
Yes, although now that the knowledge crack is so small, I don't know if Alex is allowed in there anymore. He's got his own office.
Yeah, we got rid of his desk that he had down there. There's not enough room for it.
Yeah, no. Alex, where do they find you on Twitter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, folks, you find him at ANELF3. That's at NL3. You're not going to ever get away from that.
Nope.
Sorry. Yeah. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Balliser.
I'm Brian Burdett.
And now that you know how,
go do it.